I'm Amber Costu, and getting the opportunity to interview Isaac Skuban for the No Nonsense Network today. So welcome, Isaac. You're running for County Council.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been a councillor now for about 6 years. I won in a by-election 6 years ago, and then won the next election, and this time I've been acclaimed. So I'll be a councillor for 4 more years. It'll be 10 years at the end of this, which is a long time when you think about it. I come from a family of, I have 5 younger brothers, 2 older sisters. We've been in the area our whole lives. I plan on staying in the area. It looks like we're gonna probably farm locally here just next to the parents. And a lot of my siblings, they've kind of gone to university, and a lot of them have stayed in the community. So we're really rooted in the community, and plan on staying here the rest of our lives. So yeah, I'm interested. I like sports. I'm kind of your average guy, to be honest. I'm nothing too crazy, and just I ran because I wasn't happy with what was going on and believed I could contribute. And yeah, so here we are 6 years later.
That's amazing. Well, we have some questions that we are asking all the candidates. The first one that we want to ask is, what do you see as the top priorities for our town right now, or county in your case, and how do you plan to address those issues?
Yeah, so the biggest issue with Westlock County has always been our tax rate. We're one of the highest. We were, and I'm proud to say that we were one of the highest taxed in Alberta for counties, and we worked to get it down significantly, especially on the commercial side. Those are your bigger taxpayers. Lowered a bit on farmland and on our residences, if you're like an acreage owner. So those have gone down a bit. Assessment and things like that they change how your tax rate works, but basically our tax rate is lower. Sometimes assessment goes up though, right? If you lower taxes, sometimes more people move, and then house values go up. So there is a bit of nuance to that, but that's something I'm really proud of. That's something I ran on 6 years ago and wasn't really able to do a lot in the first 2 years, and then we got a mostly new council, and it's always a risk when you do stuff like that. It's not as easy as just lowering taxes overnight.
Right.
So I'm proud of that. That's the biggest issue, which I think we've done a lot of work on. We need to continue to do that a little more to be on par with other municipalities, and I think we can do that. And then obviously the roads. The roads are important. And your basic infrastructure, your ditches, cleaning them. People, those are probably people's number one concern when you go to the doors, but in order to do that, you need money. So
that's true.
I'm not going to go and raise taxes even more on people to pay for those things. You got to find efficiencies. You got to find ways to cut here and there, and sometimes take risks, pull money from reserves. There is ways, to do it. I think with minimizing your risk, and I think we've done a good job at that. So I think we're in a much better position financially now and going forward to put money into our infrastructure projects properly, if that makes sense.
Which is great news as a county resident. I appreciate it. Where do you think the line should be drawn between local autonomy and global cooperation?
Yeah.
Some residents are concerned about international organizations like the United Nations influencing municipal policy with values that aren't necessarily shared by your average farmer or worker.
Yeah.
Where do you think that line should be drawn?
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is kind of a simple answer. It's I'm a counselor, and I really value the local, being able to volunteer locally, be known locally. The last 2 elections, I was able to visit pretty much everybody in my division at least once. So I visited most people 2-3 times in the last 6 years. This time around, I kind of started. I'm getting married on the 1st, so I'm gonna maybe take a few more months to do it because I got a lot on my plate. But visiting people is something I really value and think is important. So to me, I just focus on the local aspect. I'm not. In terms of globalism, I don't know. It seems more and more there's kind of a bigger agenda at play here federally, and I don't like it. So I'm going to do what I can locally to, help my community, help our values. And I mean, as local councillors, and we might get into this later, you're more into the infrastructure, the hard things that really keep your community going, and the social issues and things like that, which are more provincial, federal. So, I mean, I don't like what's going on federally for sure, but as a councillor, I can really only do what I can do.
Affect change right here.
Yeah.
Right. And last year, our town held a petition and bylaw vote regarding the display of flags and crosswalk markings on municipal property. How did you view the process of that vote, and what were your thoughts on the outcome?
Yeah, it's cool that people can, have a plebiscite, get signatures, and then change at a local level. And again, I'll emphasize you can do a lot at a local level, one way or the other. I mean, as citizens, it seems like you can influence politics a lot more locally. You can run for council, and you only need, say 300-400 votes, sometimes 100 votes to get in. So it's a lot more manageable at a local level. So I think with that process, the learning thing for us is no matter what side you're on, you can influence change locally, and that's really where you should start. I think Barhead had the same, I think they had the same vote too, and same result. So yeah, I think it's important that people, stay active, stay a part of the, stay in the know, I guess, because it is important. Sometimes you miss something, and this is kind of not maybe relevant to this, but sometimes there's other things that go on with land use bylaws, or sometimes councillors are definitely not representing people's interests, and you miss it because you're not paying attention, and then something bad happens and it's hard to reverse it. So I think it's good that people are becoming more involved, whether people disagree on it or not. I mean, I think it's really important that you affect change in your local communities. That's where you start.
So you feel the process worked?
Yeah, they got what the process started and ended how they wanted, and
right.
Yeah, I think we need to see. It'd be nice to see more of that everywhere. Like, you can change. There's so many different things you can have influence on and change, right? And you're seeing that even in Edmonton with infill and things like that. People are finally saying, nope, we don't want this. And sometimes people, they weren't paying attention for a few years, and then sometimes the problem's a little too far to reverse. So yeah, I just cannot emphasize enough to stay in the know on your local politics. Talk to your councillor. They're usually down the road, or an email or phone call away. Most people answer their calls. So yeah, that's what I think is important there.
Great. And there's been growing discussion in Alberta about feelings of isolation and distrust toward other levels of government. While municipal councils don't set provincial or federal policy, how do you envision our county's future relationships with both the province and Ottawa?
Yeah, I'd kind of go back to what I said earlier about focusing just on what you can do locally. We're not, it's not really our job to affect big social change maybe, but I think there definitely is a lot of things that the feds and the province do that we need to take advantage of. We get a lot of funding from the provincial government for our bridges, for our roads, to do shoulder pulls in the county, and I'm sure the town has that as well. I wouldn't know exactly but I know even the Housing Accelerator Fund, Westlock needs more homes. I think that's a pretty common consensus among people here. So things like that, sometimes that's all it takes is maybe $15,000 to push a developer to take that risk, or there's a lot of good young talented people in Westlock, carpenters too. Sometimes they just need that push to build. So sometimes there is definitely good programs that you can take advantage of. But I think in terms of kind of the global plan and this whole, whatever's going on in the world, we need to focus on what's going on locally. But that doesn't mean we should abandon some of those good funding streams that are meant for us to take advantage of. Some of the mandates that make our area work and roll, or whatever you want to say, are actually taken care of by the province, like healthcare, things like that. So we do need to have that relationship for sure.
Great. And what is your view on how Alberta can balance environmental concerns with energy development, with, let's say, taking care of the planet without actually banning all gas-powered cars?
Yeah, I mean, that's a long one. I could talk forever on that. I mean, you think of electric vehicles. There was this big push to ban electric vehicles. Or ban electric cars. Ban gasoline-powered cars. Yes, and I mean, they only really take up about 8% of global emissions. So there's a much bigger picture here that we need to be aware of. I don't think a lot of us are maybe informed on it, but I think locally there's things like solar farms that want to set up. I think it's important to have renewable energy, but maybe not at the cost of everyday families. I always say it. There's so many people who are struggling to get by, and sometimes maybe if renewable energy is more expensive for them initially, we need to consider those people and their lifestyle and their livelihood before we go on a tangent on renewable energy. So that's kind of where I stand. It's important to take those people into consideration, because I feel like, you know, the low-income families, the people who are working to get by, are often forgotten a lot of times when we have these big picture items that we want to get done. So that's not the best answer, but that's how I feel about it.
Right. And any words of encouragement for voters as they go out to the polls?
Yeah, well, for me, I mean, I'm elected, but I think when you go to the polls, the big thing is people have ideas. Look for candidates who have really tangible ideas. I think it's easy to, and I mean, it's important to support a broader picture. We want a better Westlock, we want a better Westlock County, but what are really some tangible things that people want to do and change when they get into council? Those people have done their homework and will probably do a good job when they're on council, whether it be county, town, or village. And then I think another thing is, I look for people who are going to be effective. You need people, you know, in government, you're always placed in really weird situations. Maybe you have a colleague you disagree with, or you got to work with the town or the village and it's not going good, or, you know, you got to be collaborative sometimes, and sometimes you have to stick to your guns and stick behind your county or your town. I really think, just making sure you vote for people who, you know, will work to be effective and can also, like, be collaborative, but also, you know, won't compromise on their beliefs, have a backbone, but are good to work with people. To me, that's very important. So, like, yeah, people who have tangible ideas, things that can actually get done. And then, yeah, just making sure the moral compass and the ethics of your candidate are strong, because you never know what situations they're going to go through and how they're going to handle them.
Well, wonderful. I want to thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And that was Isaac Skuban.